Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Inside the 20 with myself and Keith Niebuhr. We will do our best to get as much recruiting intel to you inside the 20-minute mark. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member of that site, you're absolutely missing out. Great time to join. Free week to start off with, 50% off of an annual subscription after that. Whew. A lot of stuff still going on, Keith. Middle of the season. Got some visits coming up. Got some offers, some commitments being offered. How you doing, big dog?
Good. What do we say? It's never dull around Auburn, isn't it? Man?
Never dull. Never dull. Like a ulu. An ulu. An Alaskan ulu. Do you know what that is, Keith?
No.
It's pretty cool. It's a curved knife that they skin seals
with. You've been to Alaska. You were just
there. I actually bought one. We got one at my dad's house.
You see any Auburn flags or shirts up there?
Didn't see any Auburn flags. I only saw one moose of all. We were expecting to see a lot of wildlife. Saw one moose, no bear.
I'll tell you, when I went to the British Open this summer with my buddy Keith Brahms, Nick Brahms' dad.
Yeah.
We saw 5 or 6 people that day in St. Andrews with Auburn shirts on. I couldn't tell you that I saw 5 other shirts of other schools total.
Huh.
Yeah, at one point we left that they actually, it was kind of a cool deal. You could leave and then re-enter the grounds. They had these electronic bracelets they gave you. So we walked into the city, and one of the first people we ran into was a guy and his wife with Auburn shirts on. But anyway, we got an ad to do before we get kicking.
We do have an ad to do. Caleb Schofield, big friend of the site, man. We appreciate Caleb's support. We encourage everybody to support Caleb as well. Good Auburn man. If you're looking for a new or used vehicle anywhere in the country, contact Caleb Schofield. He's at Mike Patton Auto there in LaGrange, Georgia on Lafayette Parkway, 334-531-0996. Sells new Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and even Hondas. Fantastic, extensive used car lot. Lots to choose from. All the used cars have to pass a multi-point inspection before they even think about selling them. And then they back those used cars with a free 3-month, 3,000-mile warranty. New cars get an even better deal. Lifetime powertrain warranty, unlimited time, unlimited mileage. Give Caleb a call. Even if you're not in the market for a new car, you know somebody that is, Caleb will give you 3 $100 bills for sending them to him. 334-531-0996. Caleb, tell him we sent you. Keith, the biggest news coming out so far this week, it's Wednesday, it's October the 26th, it's the year of 2022. The biggest news so far this week is Auburn 4-star running back commitment, Jeremiah Cobb from Montgomery Catholic. Been committed to Auburn since early in the summer, I believe.
Yeah.
July, maybe. You'd been mentioning this, Keith. You've been trying to prepare people for this potentially happening, and guess what happened? It happened. Georgia has entered the mix for Jeremiah Cobb. The Bulldogs offered him on Monday. Keith, first impressions on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a concern. Let's not. I mean, I'm sure Auburn, and we'll get you to talk about the Auburn side, and I'm sure they feel pretty good because they have such a strong relationship with the kid. But, I mean, Georgia's got one running back committed, the Robinson kid who Auburn really liked out of San Diego, and they'd like a second. And I think their top target's a guy named Justice Haynes, who's from the Atlanta area. He's committed to Alabama, but he is, if my memory is correct here, he's a Georgia legacy. So while Bama apparently has him locked in pretty good, Georgia's still pushing, still working on him, still hoping. Now, if they feel like they have a shot to flip him, he's their guy, right? But if they don't like where that's headed, then now you have them getting heavy in with Jeremiah Cobb. Obviously, they offered him, but they would then probably make a more of a significant push for Jeremiah Cobb. And look, that's an appealing offer to him. They run the heck out of the ball over there.
Sure.
They're winning a lot right now.
Got a great offensive line.
Auburn's got the cloud of uncertainty, the term we keep using. And so all those things would have me pretty concerned by this. But look, if there's a positive of this, it's that your evaluation of a running back is pretty good. All right. So you beat out Clemson to land Jeremiah Cobb. He's the highest ranked guy, highest ranked and highest rated guy on the Auburn commitment list. And now Georgia wants him. And Georgia, quite frankly, the last decade has put more, well, I'd say them and Alabama have been 2 schools with the most success of getting
RBU.
The NFL. Yeah, exactly. Taking that title, at least of the last decade from Auburn. And so you've done a hell of a job evaluating, it looks like. He's having another great season. He's probably going to go over 2,000 yards rushing for the 3rd straight year. But yeah, you gotta hang on, and that's okay. I'm gonna tell you why. I mean, it sucks if you lose them, but you, as an Auburn fan, there's been not a lot of great wins over elite programs for recruits the last couple of years, right? At least this is a guy that you can say, okay, this is the kind of guy that Auburn needs, because look who's coming after him. Clemson wanted him bad, and now Georgia's probably going to end up coming after him. So, and they've offered. You need more guys like that. You need more guys that are
that Georgia wants.
That's right. That because you're just not going to compete for SEC championships if you're beating out, Colorado,
West Virginia,
and Arizona State for guys. And that's not knocking those programs. I always feel like we got to say that, but Auburn's a historic top 15 program, right? Kerryon Johnson was a great running back. You beat out Alabama for him. Tank Bigsby, very solid running back. Held off Georgia at the end.
Twice.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's significant. So on the one hand, it's a little frightening because you don't want to lose the guy. But on the other hand, you've got to win some of these battles anyway. This, like we always said, this isn't Middle Tennessee. This is Auburn. They need to not be fearful of these battles. The collective is supposedly strong right now. The primary Auburn collective on to victory. You've got all these advantages. Now, what you don't have right now is you don't know who the head coach and the running backs coach are going to be moving forward. And so you better get that figured out, because if Georgia decides to go,
all in.
Yeah, all in on this guy, and you're still in this uncertainty purgatory zone, you're going to have some problems, because the reason why he's committed mainly is because of his relationship with Cadillac. Now, whether Cadillac's there or not, he could still end up at Auburn. He could maybe like a new running backs coach a lot, or a head coach, or whatever, if that's the route Auburn should choose to go. But that those weeks that go by allow Georgia to build their relationship with him. And so, there's a lot to shake out here. But, if there's a coaching change made, like we think there likely will be, and Georgia decides to go all in, it's going to get real interesting. And there would be some major concerns there, I would think.
Georgia certainly set themselves up to take advantage of the unstable coaching situation at Auburn.
Yeah.
I feel like, Auburn is optimistic. They're certainly concerned with Georgia moving in, but there's that relationship with Cadillac, Jeremiah Cobb. They targeted Jeremiah Cobb as their top guy early, and I think that had a big payoff. I think Auburn's got a lot of stuff working against it, though. You've got a little bit of you got some things working for you with Cadillac, but you got a lot of things working against you, man. If you're a running back and you're watching this offense right now, and you're looking at Tank Bigsby averaging, 2 yards per carry, it doesn't matter how good you are as a running back. It matters how good that offensive line is. And Auburn's offensive line has struggled all year long. You got that working against you. You got the uncertainty of who's going to be your coach. Will Cadillac be there? So a lot of things, in my opinion, working against Auburn at this point. It's tough to say what's going to happen.
And Jeffrey, and let me point out another thing. If he's looking at the offensive line situation, like you said, well, Auburn's going to be replacing a majority of its offensive line for next year. What's the Georgia offensive line going to look like? They've been recruiting 4 and 5 stars. Now, here's another thought, and not to worry everybody, but what if, and again, I don't know the Justice Haynes recruitment. Our Bama guys.
I was looking that up.
All over that, okay? But just for argument's sake, let's suppose he does flip to a Georgia. Well, guess who then is going to need another running back? And what is Alabama? So
the school down the road.
There could be a challenge here no matter what, if we're being honest. But look, Auburn's done a hell of a job evaluating Jeremiah Cobb, a hell of a job building relationships with him and the people around him. But you're right, there is those other variables that are going to cause some challenges here.
Well, hopefully we'll get some type of thoughts from Jeremiah Cobb soon. We're working on that this week. Excuse me. Keith, overall, man, Auburn's got 11 commitments in this 2023 class. It's so difficult. Guys are coming in this weekend. Tyler Scott's coming in this weekend. Colton Hood's coming in this weekend. I did confirm that the JUCO OT is no longer expected to come this weekend. The guy, Xavier Miller, he had considered a visit to Auburn. I don't think he's coming in anymore. I'm taking him off my tentative list. Who else is coming? I think those two cornerbacks, which are probably Auburn's top two cornerbacks on the board, coming in, Tyler Scott, Colton Hood. But overall, man, it's so difficult for us because you don't – is all this for nothing? You're muted.
I'm sorry, I was talking. I said, far be it for me to criticize. I mute because I cough so much, just so everybody knows. And when Jeffrey's talking, I'm trying not to cough over him. But
it was the most pleasant 10 seconds of the podcast.
God, if you're an Auburn fan right now, I mean, it's like, can you get some clarity from the people who run the show?
Right.
I mean, I get sick and tired of people at other schools, fans making fun of Auburn fans, and the Auburn fans are a different breed. No, they go through. Auburn fans have been through a lot. Okay, if you're in fandom history here, give me a break. They're no worse than anyone else. They're passionate fans, and they deserve better. And right now, the administration dragging its feet, and that's what's happening. It's
sure
obvious. I mean, they make a move one way or the other. Either support the guy, which probably we don't think is going to happen, but who knows, or do something. Do something to give the fans hope. But also the coaches need clarity. Recruits need clarity. I mean,
players.
I talked to a recruit just a couple of days ago, Janoris Wilson, the big offensive lineman from Lakeland, Florida, who's committed to Auburn. Very good player. I mean, we have him ranked probably ridiculously low. I think he's going to move up. But he says, "Hey, I'm watching this close. I am watching this close." And I said, "Well, what would happen if they get rid of this staff?" And he said, "Well, no, I don't want to talk about it. No comment." I mean, and also other schools are coming in now. Other schools. Now he declined to tell me. Now he's polite, by the way. I'm not saying he's a jerk at all. He's the absolute opposite of that. He just doesn't want it out there what schools are recruiting him. But I got wind of one of them, Jeffrey, and it's top 10 school. Okay, it is a top 10 school right now. A school in the top 10. I'm not going to give any more hints than that. It'll get out at some point. And yet he's so, how hard are they going to come after him? I don't know. And is he going to get some clarity on the Auburn situation? And again, that's another guy to worry about, because I said, well, why are you so firm? Yeah, he says he's solid Auburn. Okay, why? Coaching staff. All right, well, you're hoping that the kid says, because it's Auburn, because I love the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Auburn fan, and you really want a kid. To me, he's one of the 3 or 4 guys you absolutely wouldn't want to lose if you had a coaching change. But the reality is, if you make a change, you're going to lose some guys, but you're also going to bring in new guys. I mean, if you make a change, you're making the change for the long haul. So maybe sometimes you take a little step back at the beginning to hopefully you move a few steps forward. But the uncertainty right now is just, it doesn't matter how much NLI money you have, because again, even though that's the biggest picture, the biggest part of the puzzle, it's not the only part of the puzzle. And if that's getting you in the game with the big boys of college football, the Ohio States and Southern Cals of the world, you still got to have the relationships. You still got to have all these other things. And if you don't know who the coach is going to be, you're just losing valuable time. Yep. You're losing valuable time. And
I think you said it best, Keith.
Yeah, they're in a bad spot right now.
Everybody associated with Auburn deserves better from the administration. Brian Harsin needs to know whether or not he's going to be back. These players deserve whether these fans help. The recruits, everybody deserves to know as soon as possible whether or not Brian Harsin is going to be coach. No, nobody expects him to, but provide some clarity for everybody. Hey, there's light at the end of this tunnel that you're perceived to be in. It's you can't blame anybody for continuing doing what they're doing unless they're told. And I wish Auburn would, like you said, shit or get off the pot. There's no reason to be dragging this out. If he's not going to be your coach next year, fire him. Fire him right now. If he's not going to be your coach, get it over with. Fire him. If he is, let us know.
Yeah, and they're in it with enough guys where they could still put together a solid class if they keep these guys. If they don't keep these guys, you're sort of starting from scratch again. But I still think with the NIL money, I think Auburn's going to be okay either way. But the class would certainly look different depending upon who's on the coaching staff. You know what I mean? The thing to remember is when you do make a coaching change, like I said a minute ago, a lot of new names do surface. Position coaches bring in their guys that they were recruiting to their previous schools. It opens up a whole new treasure chest of potential transfer portal guys. I mean, it will be busy, obviously, but there'll be a lot to read about. Let's put it that way. There'll be games popping up every day, but it's tough. And if you're a recruit right now, you're looking at. I think what you do as a staff, when we've talked about this, you sell the kid more. Now, Janoris Wilson said he's close with the staff, but they began recruiting him, several months ago. But if you're Auburn right now, you're focusing probably more on the school and the program itself. How Auburn can better your life if you pick Auburn. You've got the football program. The facilities are going to be elite. The dorms are close to the proximity, the community, all that stuff. So you got to sell all that and keep people. Like, you're still employed by Auburn if you work there, right? Even if you're going to get fired, you're still getting paid. So you have to say, okay, adjust your strategy a little bit. Less about me, more about what Auburn has to sell. And if you do that, and enough kids ride it out and wait to see what happens, you can survive something like this. But look, the class as it stands right now is just average, quite frankly. And if it's a transitional class between two coaching staffs, it's not going to be great either. So at that point, you have to get the wins you can get, basically. Make the most out of it, even if it's just a handful of guys, and then hope to God you have people that know who are going in the portal before they're going in the portal, and you are prepared, right? But I don't know. I don't know what the
answer. It's tough, man.
Yeah,
it's tough for everybody involved, and I think maybe
circles in a way. It's saying the same stuff every show.
Well, I think 3 weeks ago, I was. What do you gain by an in-season firing? And I could see both sides of it, but at this point, man, with the Landon King news last night, it's to the point where what would you say the fans are not divided, because I don't think that he has enough support amongst the fans to have a side of support. You said it earlier, Keith. Limbo?
Well, I'd say purgatory, because it's
purgatory.
But just clarity, one way or the other. Because once there's clarity, the fan base that's fractured right now and hurt can start coming together again.
Let the healing begin.
Even if a staff knows it's not going to be there, then they can focus solely. They still got to recruit. They can focus solely on selling the school and the program. And then once kids know who a new head coach would be, then you start figuring out the relationship part of it there. But right now, you're just trying to sacrifice what you can out of this 2021 class, or 2021, 2 years behind, 2023 class. Because, Auburn's 2022 class was just average. The 2021 class, the last transitional class, is turning out to be a complete disaster. Okay? That's the class Landon King's in. Almost half those guys are already gone. Okay? So you didn't get much out of that. This transitional class, you better get something out of it, because that would almost be 3 classes in a row where you didn't get much, where you maybe got enough good players for one class spread over 3, which is a potential for disaster. And you better win big in the portal. You better figure out how to win big in the portal, whether you're Brian Harsin or his the guy who replaces him, like whatever direction they decide to go. And like we say, we think they are going to go in that direction.
Yeah, it's hard for me to blame Brian Harsin if he hasn't been informed he's not coming back. Well, I can't expect him to stop coaching or stop running the program when it's the administration, as far as I'm concerned. The AD has still not been named, and I don't know if that's if it's been longer than normal, or I really don't know the timeline on how long it takes to hire an AD, but you would.
Well, recruiting is the lifeblood of the program, Jeffrey, and we're getting up on the 20-minute mark here. It's the lifeblood of the program. It's everything. All right? Jimmy's and Joe's over X's and O's. If you don't have the Jimmy's and Joe's, it doesn't matter how good your X's and O's are. And right now, a recruiting class is suffering because of all this uncertainty.
Yeah.
We think we know what's going to happen, but to a recruit and their family, they're in limbo. They don't know what's going to happen. They're trying to figure all that out. And the longer it goes on, now it's true. You may not be able to, if you make the move, you wouldn't be able to name a coach until a certain date, but at least a recruit would have something to look forward to. You know what I mean? At least they would know one way or the other. Here's the direction that Auburn's going to go in.
Everybody deserves better from Auburn's administration right now. Yeah. Everybody. From the fans to the coaches to the recruits to the players, everybody deserves better from the administration right now, and they're just not getting it. And it's creating a chaotic environment.
And we've seen it just deteriorate significantly just over the last, 7 to 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, now you've got people coming after the recruits. We hadn't had that until recently. The ones that they really want to keep, the Cobbs and Jeremiah Cobbs and Janoris Wilsons of the world. It's something needs to happen soon. The path toward the future, whatever that future may be, needs to be clear.
Defeated. I feel like the fan base is just defeated.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the medical tent on the sideline, looking out, seeing how much time is left, and the clock never is.
No, I think it's for Joe Theismann.
Oh.
Yeah, right now, to be honest with you. It's fractured, literally. You know what I mean? It's they've got to figure something out. For all parties involved, we're beating a dead horse now, but
I know.
Now we're really starting to see, okay, commitments, this class, how's it going to look? NIL can only do so much. It's all starting to come together here and become a major issue. Major problems. Well,
we definitely threw the flag on this show, buddy. Definitely threw the flag on this show. We didn't break the 20-minute mark. Still lots to talk about. We'll be back tomorrow on the modcast. All of us will be on for the modcast. I'm sure we'll go in depth on several different things. Lots to talk about right now with Auburn. If you're not a member of Auburn Live on 3, check us out for one free week, 50% off. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel, please do that. Helps us out a lot. We will be back tomorrow. We will be back Friday. We'll talk more on Recruiting Friday. We'll have a better look at what to expect for the weekend. Maybe have some more information on Jeremiah Cobb. Appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate everybody subscribing, man. For Keith, for Zach in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee. Y'all stay out of the left lane. See ya.